This is macOS Ken.
Another analyst takes on the App Store, 2 moves to grow Apple services, and a sizable delay for high-end chargers. It is Thursday, the 4th of August, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Notion, one workspace for your whole team. Learn more and get started for free at notion.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Trade Coffee. When it comes to coffee, I am really not as much of a geek as I could be. Got no French press, no Chemex, just a regular old coffee maker that makes a great cup of coffee. As long as I have great coffee, which I do. Thanks to Trade. You answer some questions when you get started. Light or dark roast? What do you use to make it? Do you grind it yourself or buy it ground? Then Trade Coffee starts sending you coffee from craft roasters across the country. Small businesses that pay farmers fair prices to sustainably source great coffee beans from around the world. Every coffee they've sent me has been fantastic. I think you'll love it. They think you'll love it, but if you're not happy with your first bag, they'll listen to what you didn't like, then put you to work with one of their coffee experts to get you a better bag at no additional cost. If the coffee in your cup matters, try Trade Coffee. Right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off your first order plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/macOSKen. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. Get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/macOSKen and let Trade find you a coffee you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/macOSKen for $30 off. Good news-ish for Apple investors. Seeking Alpha has Morgan Stanley analyst Eric Woodring saying that App Store growth slowed to 1% last month versus the same month a year ago. You may wonder why that's good news. Well, it isn't really, until you remember Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani saying earlier this week that July marked the first zero growth month for the App Store since its launch 14 years ago. In your face, whoever's wrong. Neither one seems freaked out by the slow or no growth prospect, though Woodring seems to be both more optimistic and more pessimistic, like he's setting himself up for disappointment. Evercore's Daryanani seems pretty settled on a serious slowing of App Store growth until either something happens to goose sales in China or Apple glides into easier compares after the December quarter. Similarly, though with a twist, Woodring's latest note says, with App Store year-over-year comps flat for July to August, but about 6 points tougher in September, we believe an acceleration in growth largely hinges on the strength of consumer spending and demand for digital services in China as spending patterns normalize post-lockdowns. So he doesn't seem as settled on slow to no growth as Daryanani. That said, Seeking Alpha does have Woodring noting that App Store growth is skewed to the downside this quarter. Still, he has higher hopes than one might expect. Quoting Seeking Alpha, if the quarter ended with just 1% year-over-year growth in the App Store, that could impact Apple's all-important services revenue, which Morgan Stanley estimates will grow 10% year-over-year in the coming quarter. And this is where he seems to be setting himself up for disappointment. On the June quarter earnings call, it was Woodring himself who asked a question about services growth in the current quarter. Specifically, will the category maintain double-digit growth? CFO Maestri did not say no. What he did say was that growth for services last quarter was 12%. Apple's going to see a 6% impact from foreign exchange year on year. Then there's the whole Russia thing happening. And yet somehow Woodring heard that answer and still expects double-digit growth. People are funny. Woodring has a positive rating on Apple shares. Morgan Stanley's price target on the shares is $180. Of course, there's more to Apple services than the App Store. To Europe we go, where customers are getting a bit more care. A piece from the Mac Observer says folks in France, Italy, and Spain now have access to AppleCare Plus for iPhone. I added that second plus. It's for the addition of theft or loss coverage, which had not been available for those countries. According to the site, the additional coverage offers iPhone replacements for up to 2 incidents of theft or loss per 12-month period. Apple requires a €129 service fee per insurance claim. Apple will replace the phone after the customer pays the €129. The lost or stolen replacement is in addition to the usual coverage. Otherwise, it wouldn't be AppleCare Plus, more like AppleCare Different. That includes 2 incidents of accidental damage per 12-month period, according to TMO, as well as 24/7 priority access to technical support, according to Apple. The piece says the 3 new countries join a handful that already had the theft and loss protection. Those include Australia, Germany, Japan, the UK, and the US. Apple may be ramping up its advertising efforts again. Last week, the company said it was adding 2 new ad slots to its App Store offerings. Now a piece from 9to5Mac says the company is also adding a bunch of people. The site has a piece from DigiDay saying their sources say that hiring in the ad platforms division has risen significantly since the beginning of this year. This is also reflected in the executive org chart. A report from May said that Apple Services Group now has a dedicated executive, Todd Teresi, to focus on advertising-related initiatives. They're hiring people to build better automation, it seems. The job listings cited by DigiDay say Apple is building the most privacy-forward, sophisticated demand-side platform possible. According to 9to5Mac, a demand-side platform allows advertisers to set up automations that scale up campaigns based on performance indicator factors, aided by machine learning. A well-oiled machine like that keeps the advertiser dough rolling in, according to 9to5Mac, hence more people to build a better sales bot. Of course, if it does well for the App Store, the piece figures it somewhere between possible and likely that Apple will take its advertising business to other services, including Spotlight, Maps, and, who knows, maybe TV. 9to5Mac talks about ad-supported content as a possibility. Personally, I doubt that for Apple TV+. However, Apple does have a streaming music video service about which we all forget. And there's the company's continued push into live sports. Word of Apple's ad push would likely excite a number of Apple analysts and potentially vindicate one. Back in June, JP Morgan analyst Samik Chatterjee suggested that advertising plays by Apple could generate as much as $6 billion in revenue by 2025. $1.7 billion of that could come from building an audience network of third-party applications, which allow Apple to manage the logistics of ad targeting and delivering to these applications, matching demand from digital advertising customers with supply of an audience. The other $4 billion and change would come from Apple's search ads. Right now, he thinks that amount is limited by Apple's emphasis on consumer experience. That's translated in past reports as Apple's focus on privacy and design. More news in a moment, but first a word from Notion, one workspace for your whole team. In business, you want to be able to move fast. Unless you work by yourself, though, speed can be a problem if one person is speeding off on their own. Notion can help. Notion is an all-in-one team collaboration tool that combines note-taking, document sharing, wikis, project management, and much more into one space that is simple, powerful, and beautifully designed. With powerful integrations and seamless navigation, you will have everything you need in one spot, so you can make speed your advantage while making sure nobody is speeding off on their own. For companies of all sizes, Notion provides one central and customizable workspace that can be tailored to fit any team and bring all teams together to get more done and move faster together. Learn more and get started for free at notion.com/macOSKen. That's notion.com/macOSKen to help you take the first step towards an organized, happier team today. NOTION. That's notion.com/macOSKen. It is so weird what retailers and vendors run out of and hashtag these times in which we live. A piece from Mac Rumors says Apple's 96-watt and 140-watt USB-C power adapters for the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro continue to face significant shipping delays when purchased separately. I guess if you want the convenience of an extra, you face the inconvenience of waiting. In the U.S., the piece says waits for the adapters currently sit at 4 to 6 weeks. That could mean as late as the first week of October if you act now and order today. Amusingly, Mac Rumor says Apple said on the June quarter earnings call that it continued to experience supply constraints during the June quarter, but the company does expect the shortages to improve during the September quarter. I'm pretty sure that conversation was focused on phones and computers, not chargers and stuff like that. If you absolutely need something in the way of a charger sooner rather than later, the piece says Apple's 67-watt and lower USB-C power adapters are more readily available at this time. And finally today, the story that was everywhere yesterday is so hard to call a story. Bloomberg ran a piece saying that Apple plans to delay the launch of iPadOS 16. Apple has said that iPadOS 16 will be released in the fall. Now, though, sadly, it's not going to be released until the fall. According to Bloomberg, the company expects to delay its next major iPad software update by about a month, taking the unusual step of not releasing it at the same time as the new iPhone software, according to people with knowledge of the matter. The delay is said to be thanks to Apple's ambitious effort to overhaul the iPad's multitasking capabilities. There seems little point in trying to decide whether this story is correct or incorrect. I would rather go ahead and point out the obvious again. Apple has given no release date for any of its operating systems, so, can't call them late. Well, they did say this fall, so they got a 3-month window that doesn't even open for another month and a half. Go back to sleep. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Trade Coffee. Get $30 off your first order plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Notion, one workspace for your whole team. Learn more and get started for free at notion.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.